Hi there, happy new month and welcome to Word for One. So today I'm going to be sharing with us a Bible passage about how Jesus fed the 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. Amazing, right? So let's dig into it. Let's read from the record about Luke, Luke chapter 9 from verse, let's take it from 13. But Jesus said, "You feed them." "But we have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish," they answered. "Or are you expecting us to go and buy enough food for this whole crowd?" For there were about 5,000 men there. Jesus replied, "Tell them to sit down in groups of about 50 each." So the people sat down. Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, looked up towards heaven, and blessed them. Then, breaking the loaves into pieces, he kept giving the bread and fish to the disciples so they could distribute it to the people. They all ate as much as they wanted, and afterwards the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftovers. Wonderful. So here a lot of people had gathered to listen to Jesus Christ, and then when it was evening, the disciples were concerned that, oh, what are we going to feed these people? Let us send them away so that they can have get food to eat, have lodging and all that. And Jesus was like, no, don't worry about that. You don't want them to go faint on the road. You feed them. And then the disciples were like, with what? What do you expect us to feed them with? We have just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. And Jesus was like, just bring it and tell them to sit down. The most striking part of this for me is that, even though the disciples had been with Jesus Christ for a long time right now, and they had seen Jesus Christ do different miraculous signs, they hadn't experienced this form of miracle yet. They didn't imagine that Jesus would be able to feed that multitude of people with just, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. So it was unimaginable for them. And then Jesus was like, just bring it to me. And another striking part of this for me was that when Jesus collected the food from the disciples, the Bible records that he looked up and blessed it. So what this teaches me is, first of all, that there is always something in your hand. There is always something that is left with you that can be multiplied. The only problem is that you are not acknowledging that thing. The Bible says in Philemon that for the communication of your faith to be effective, you need to acknowledge every good thing that is within you. Some of us, we are just looking at what we have, what we don't have, or we don't have enough money to do that project. We don't have this, we don't have that. But Jesus Christ is asking that, what do we have? And then when they looked around, they were able to discover that we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, right? So what do you have? What do you currently have in your hand? That thing that you think that it cannot be enough to execute what you intend to execute, or what God has put in your heart to execute. Jesus Christ is saying to you this very moment, this morning, that it can be enough. And then Jesus Christ took that and then he looked up to heaven. For me, that signifies that, when the psalmist in Psalm 121 says that, I will look up my eyes to the hills, from where comes my help. My help comes from God who made heaven and the earth. God is not limited by what you currently have in your hand. Trust me, he is not. If he could cause manna to fall from heaven and feed multitudes of people in the desert, then he's capable of multiplying and giving increase to anything that you put before him. The only problem is that you're looking to put only your strength before him. You're looking to put only what you have going well for yourself before him, not knowing or not acknowledging the other good things that you feel like they are too small. You see the point? So you feel like, oh, this one is too small. It cannot amount to anything. It cannot be enough for anything. But God is very, very capable, and he is even a specialist in using the foolish things of this world to confound the wise, right? So it is even in that moment that he can be glorified. If you already have it all figured out, you already have everything that you need, then you don't need God, right? But when it is a miracle, because this small thing fed a multitude of people. That is why it is a miracle. It wouldn't have been such a fantastic thing that we are still talking about today till today if there was already so much available to feed those people. You see my point? So that little thing that you already have in your hand that you think is not enough, first of all, acknowledge that you have something. And then after acknowledge that you have something, take it to God. Look up to God. Don't look down at it and feel like this is nothing, right? This also reminds me about the parable of the servants whom the master gave talents to when he was going out on a journey. And then these servants, the one that had just 1 talent, felt like, oh, this is just very little that my master has given to me. My master is a wicked person. He wants to reap where he hasn't sown, right? So that just shows the position of his heart. It feels like the master wants to get what he didn't give, not knowing that even that little that you have, it was God that gave it to you in the first place and is capable of giving you so much more. So first of all, give thanks for what you already have. Acknowledge that you have it. Look up to God, who is the giver of all things, and then bless it. And after blessing it, the next thing that we found that Jesus did in this place was that Jesus divided it. He pieces it and then started to give it out. This also suggests to me that that little thing that you think that is not enough, by the time you look into it and you start to divide it and you start to see, you break it down into bits, you actually say that it can be useful for something. So you feel like, oh, it's only singing I can sing, I don't know how to maybe do something else that you thought you would have liked to do. When you start looking at all the expressions of where you can use that singing, you start to see that it is a blessing and it can bring you so much more. Do you get what I'm saying? So look at it, divide it, break it down, and then see how God can use it. And then what Jesus also did was that he gave it to the disciples. So the more he gave, the more the thing continued to increase. It continued to increase as he was using it. So deploy that gift that you have. Start using that little that you think would not be enough and watch God increase it in your hands. Where the increase might not come is when you just look down on it and do nothing with it. But as much as you continue to use it, as much as you continue to deploy it, it will continue to increase in your hand. And at the end of the day, you'll find that you have much more than enough. So I hope that this blesses somebody today as much as it blesses me as well. And I hope that it encourages you to start, taking account of those little things that you thought that you didn't have or that you thought might not be enough. Start taking account of it and start using it, and you watch God increase it and bless it in your hand. Did you find this useful? Please feel free to share with somebody. Feel free to share with a friend, a family, and then see you sometime soon. Bye.